do you mean by how humans took over the world? What do you mean by that?
But, we now control this planet to a large extent. We control the future, the fate of almost all the other animals. And so how did we come to dominate this planet to such an extent? This is the big question that interests me as a historian. If you do a real test, not a test like in school, if you give me and an elephant a test in school, then obviously, I'll do better. But if you put me and an elephant or a chimp or a pig on a deserted island, and we have to survive for a month or a year, find our food, get away from predators, whatever, this is a real test, I wouldn't place my bets on me. I would place...
You're going to ask, where's the nearest Quick Mart to get some food?
Exactly. For most of what we need for our survival today, we depend on other people, maybe on the other side of the world, which we don't even know. We don't know how to get our own food, build our shelters, whatever. This is really what makes us so special, that we can cooperate in these large trade networks. Yeah, so it's true of getting to the moon. It's true of building the pyramids. It's true of all the big achievements of humanity. And then you ask yourself, the big question becomes, why are we capable of cooperating on such a large scale when chimpanzees or elephants or pigs can't? If you take 1,000 chimpanzees and cram them together into a mall or into a sports stadium.
That's a funny picture just to imagine, right?
You get chaos. And
right. They're not building anything.
Exactly.
You're absolutely right.
So, and so this is the really big question of what makes it possible for us to cooperate. And the answer here, at least my answer, is quite surprising. It's the ability to invent and believe fictional stories. Because underneath every large-scale corporation, at the bottom, you always find some kind of fictional story, not a scientific truth, not necessarily mathematical calculations, but a fictional story.
Well, maybe not to put words in your mouth, but maybe a better word there would be a bit of mythology.
Yes.
That you want to believe in. Because when people use myth as the opposite word of truth, I think it undervalues what roles myths have played historically. We don't say, well, Zeus is false. Mm-hmm. That's not the idea. The idea is there are lessons there in the myths that have been handed down over time. So what's an example of a myth or a falsehood?
The obvious example is, of course, religion. That you get millions of people to cooperate on a project, could be to build a cathedral or a hospital or go to wage a crusade because they all believe in the same mythology. But it's much broader than that, because our economic system is also based on fictional entities. If you think about corporations, if you think about money is not an objective entity.
It's a concept, really, right?
Yeah. And if you think about the value of money comes from stories that people tell and believe each other. The greatest storytellers in the world are not the people who win the Nobel Prize in literature. It's the people who win the Nobel Prize in economics. They tell the really powerful stories. Not everybody believes in the same God or in any God, but everybody believes in money. And if you think about it, it's strange, because even no other animal knows that something like money exists. If you give, a pig, you give an apple in one hand and a pile of $1 million in new notes in the other hand, the pig would obviously choose the apple. And the chimpanzee the same, and the elephant. Besides us, nobody knows that something like money exists. So the value of money, it doesn't come from the paper. Most money in the world today is not even paper. It's just electronic data moving between computers. And so where is the value from? It's from stories we believe. If you think about new currencies, like cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin, that's a very good and current example. You tell a story about something, and if enough people believe it, it works. You and I, we agree to accept money for what we do, like lectures or books or whatever. Why? We can't eat the money that people give us, but we believe that if we go to a supermarket and give this to the cashier, we can get an apple. And why do they agree to accept the money? Because they also believe that if they go to a shoe store and give this money to the salesperson, they will get shoes. And as long as everybody believes in the story, it works. And
so is this good or bad? I mean, you're saying we're at risk of the belief system collapsing and thereby taking the entire monetary system with it. Are we really ever at risk of that? And isn't money just a more convenient form of barter?
First of all, yes, we are at risk of the whole thing collapsing. It happens from time to time in history. Inflation that everybody's not talking about, to some extent, is that the value of the money is not what we were told it is. And inflation can sometimes hit, thousands of percents, millions of percents, and eventually the money becomes worthless. You have these images from certain periods in history, like in Germany in the 1920s.
Wheelbarrows of money being bought to buy a loaf of bread.
People use it, as toilet paper because it's lost all its value. So that's a real danger. I think that in 1946 in Hungary, they had the worst inflation ever in history that we know about, and they have their banknotes with quintillions. Not billion. I'm not
quintillions. Oh my gosh!
I'm not sure even what it is.
I got to get one of those. Okay. Yeah, it's billions, trillions, quadrillions, quintillions. Yeah.
Okay.
That's getting up there. How is your thinking influenced by the knowledge that in this same society and civilization exist people who are engaged in rampant science denial or rampant misinformation or disinformation, especially via channels on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, what's really scary is undermining the basic trust in institutions.
Yes.
Because institutions are what is holding human society together. The thing with institutions is that they are brittle, and also it's difficult to build trust in them because they are these kind of, it's much easier to trust an individual. One of the reasons why you see the rise of these dictators and strongmen today all over the world is because...
By the way, I hypothesize that it was because anyone with active memory of the rise of fascism that led into the Second World War is no longer alive. And
That's
so
true.
people are thinking, hey, this is a good idea. Let's keep an elected leader head for life. And are they reading history, or you surely have maybe another explanation for it? But that was my simplest accounting for this rise of dictator elected officials.
I completely agree with you that it's kind of, fascism served as a kind of inoculation, as a vaccination against this danger. And it's now the effect is decreasing because most of the people who experienced it firsthand are no longer among us. So again, people think, hey, maybe it's a good idea. But the reason that even 100 years ago or today, that people are attracted to that kind of system is because something very deep in our humanity, we find it easy to connect, to trust an individual human being much more than we find than to trust an institution.
That's a whole psychological thing going on there. Yeah.
I mean, to kind of trust something abstract like Congress.
No, you can't. Compared to a charismatic leader, there's no contest.
Absolutely.